Like pixels on a screen, these are the games of our lives. Hello and welcome back to the Games of Our Lives with Mike and Chris. I'm Chris. Joining me is Mike. This is episode 8. Let's just get right to it. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am pretty good. Let's see.
I like I said, welcome back, as if, they paused and then stepped away and came back to this new episode.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, and on the YouTube playlist, I have a 30-minute buffer between each episode. It's just white noise. Yeah. You gotta get those minutes watched up. So.
That's that. I didn't realize that's how the algorithm worked.
Oh yeah, no, that's how it works now. So, Michael, you have been shacked up with the kissing curse, mono disease for a while. What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
I've been a lot of time for games, but I took the plunge. Killing Floor 2 was 15% off, and for some reason, just seeing that little minus percentage thing in Steam trigger something deep within inside me.
A serotonin reuptake.
It really is. Yeah, I'm sure the MRI started lighting up.
The pleasure center of your brain.
Yeah, so I started playing Killing Floor 2, which I know we've talked about before. So
that is a wave-based zombie shoot 'em ups, right?
Yes, yeah, it's wave-based, it's team-based. There are classes. It's obviously a sequel to I forgot what game the original. It was a mod, I think, Killing Floor 1.
Really? Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. That's just probably totally wrong.
Okay. But I've seen some footage of Killing Floor 2. It looks really, the art style is really like hectic. I couldn't really tell what was going on.
Right. Well, generally you have several dozen zombies coming in at different times and different types and all that. So there is a lot going on. The first one, I guess I went back to it recently and it didn't age that well. So the new one, it looks gorgeous. There's a lot of kind of shiny. They're big on the gore. That's one of their things. So generally, body parts will explode, stuff like that. And then they're very proud of their persistent gore. So basically, as you play through the different waves, you'll start to see, oh, well, here's where the zombies come from because here's where the hallway is painted red.
Oh, okay.
It's a little slower than I think most shooters these days. Like when I kind of first loaded Killing Floor 2, I thought I had the wrong button for run because I forgot just you don't move fast.
So it's more like pick a good spot to hole up and.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like really, you and your team, and if you separate and try to go on your own, you'll die. So it's kind of a good mix of you're still a badass with a machine gun, and you still have to work together.
So does it carry over any of the problems that you mentioned with Killing Floor 1 with the weird leveling curve?
They tried fixing it a little bit. Basically, instead of having I think 5 levels per class, there are a lot more levels, so you kind of go up to like 25, and it's a smaller gain at each level. So,
is the leveling happening each round, or rather each match? So it's kind of like a MOBA in that way.
No, it's persistent between games. And one of the things they did do that I think is an improvement is it used to be each class had sort of a challenge. So instead of getting X amount of experience, it was all right. You have to kill these many of this type with this gun, and then you have like 3 or 4 challenges per each level.
Do the challenges ever conflict with the overall goals in a way that sort of makes it counterintuitive to go for the challenges?
Sort of, yeah, and that's the thing where it's a team-based game, so your goal should be survival. What happens is one guy's trying to level up by killing a certain kind of zombie. Someone else is so you get pissed that like, oh no, you killed my zombie, and it's just sort of silly.
Yeah, because I remember in the early days of like the 360 generation, there were multiplayer games that had achievements for getting a certain number of team kills. It's like, well, that kind of I heard
Nothing,
that really just sort of ruined that particular game.
Nothing that egregious. Really, it was just sort of it's you can either play to help your team win, or you can kind of help try to level yourself up as best you can. They fixed that though, I think.
Okay.
Where basically it's just experience. So there's still such a thing, I guess, as kill stealing, as silly as that is.
Oh wow.
But it's not nearly as bad. The one kind of downside is that the melee class really isn't as much fun. Even though, well, they made a big deal about fixing melee and sort of you have different like moves now. But the problem is as more people join your game, and it's up to 6 players in the game, which is kind of nice. The zombies will come with more health. So what happens is when you're a melee, you have these big guys who normally you can hit and stagger, and you can sort of dodge, and there's sort of a cycle to killing them without them being able to attack you. But if you're in a game with too many people, they just don't get staggered when you hit them. So you just start trading hits, and there's like it doesn't seem like there's as much strategy to it.
Oh, so the staggering is based on like a amount of hit points damage done.
I think so. That's what it seems like. And again, this is still early access. I think they've
really. It's early. I thought it was fully released.
I thought, well, that's one thing too. I thought it was released. I thought it was done. It is early access.
Ooh.
There's 4 classes. They've announced a bunch. They don't have like the explosives in the game, meaning when you fight the bosses, you're kind of screwed. There's a lot missing.
Really?
And
okay.
and they've also announced that when the game goes full retail, they're going to reset all the experience.
Oh, that's not great.
And I understand why you do that.
Well, yeah, it makes sense for like an MMO.
Yeah, but it's still like, oh man, that's just it's sort of when I learned that I was like, well, I don't know how much. I'm not really raring to go back in it.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're dedicated to the cause of making the game better, there doesn't seem to be much of a reason to play it right now.
And that's true, and it is a fun game. But I played maybe about 3 or 4 rounds, some online, some with friends, some with strangers, and I feel like, all right, I kind of know what it's about. I'm gonna wait for retail.
Well, so the only,
but you know, I paid for that privilege.
Yeah. So I mean that reset thing is a little weird. I could see that making more sense if the price is going to change upon release, if they like lowered the price specifically for early access, because normally betas for those kinds of things are free, but
yeah,
I don't know.
No, and I mean, maybe it was me. I didn't really do the research. I wasn't really aware of it when I bought it. But it is a little disappointing in that the game is still good. I still enjoy the game.
There is a complete experience there, at least, right?
Yeah, it is. I really like the level design, the new levels they've made, but it's just I feel like, all right, I'm being paid as a beta tester, or I paid to be a beta tester.
Yeah, that's a little bit rough.
Yeah, but I will say they have these med grenades that have this cool little Tron blocky pixel effect when you throw them, so can't stay mad at you killing Floor. How about you, Chris? What have you been playing?
So I had a bit of paralysis of choice earlier this week. So I was looking through my library for a random game to play, and I stumbled upon Jamestown, which I got in one of the early Humble Bundles. So if you've been buying those regularly, you also probably have this.
I was gonna say, Jamestown is one of those games you probably own already.
Like FTL and yeah. So Jamestown is a pixel vertical shoot 'em up / bullet hell game. And the art is beautiful. The story is very unique in that it is a alternate history future past, which is a genre that I just came up with.
That's pretty close. I was waiting for you to try to explain what the game's about, because it's kind of one of the funniest things.
So it takes place in the 1600s, but on Mars, where the colonies of Roanoke and Jamestown are colonies on Mars. And I mean, the story, it's very story light, as most shoot 'em ups are.
I was just gonna say it's a shmup.
Yeah. So I've never really gotten into shmups. So I went through it, and the way that they do there's only like I think 5 different levels. I mean, there are different variations on those 5 levels, and there are different ships you can play with, but there are only 5 core like story levels, and they gate them by a difficulty. So you can do the first 3 on the easiest difficulty. Then in order to unlock the next level, you have to do the first 3 on the second difficulty, and then to unlock the last 2 levels, you have to do all the levels up so far on the 3rd difficulty, which makes this game probably the perfect intro to the shoot 'em up genre, I think, because now I'm super into it. And
it is a gorgeous game.
It is very beautiful. So on a lark, because it was on sale earlier this week, I picked up Crimzon Clover, which is a true Japanese bullet hell arcade shooter. And that shit is crazy.
I was going to say, like, that's... there's a hell of a learning curve in these games, and you kind of don't know what you're getting into, I think, when you're starting.
Well, so Crimzon Clover is probably a pretty darn good intro to the true bullet hell games, because it has an easy mode, which isn't that easy, and it has infinite continues. Your score resets every time you continue, though, so, I mean, once you get good enough, you're sort of incentivized to start over. But if you just want to work through the levels, there's also a training mode where you can just practice stages and bosses. So it is a very good one of those that is not a weird anime game.
That was my next question. I'm like, so what kind of magical girl are you?
No, it's more like Ikaruga, where it's ships and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it's this weird spritey art style, which is really cool. And it runs beautifully. It's a great performing game, and it is impenetrable at first. And it is a true bullet hell shooter, and I think the mechanics are really good on it. So I'm super into that now. I'm gonna try to find a bunch more. That sort of leads into what I'm looking forward to. Is that I think I'm into shmups now.
Oh, nice.
So I gotta go through shmup history and pick up a couple, like a Gradius or 2, and I don't know, Ikaruga still intimidates me.
Oh, you know what? That was the obvious next one I was going to go to.
I don't know. Ikaruga is, while it is a bullet hell shmup, it's also a puzzle game.
That's
so
true.
I don't know. It's still weirdly intimidating to me. But Crimzon Clover is great. There's a lot of game in there for $10, and I got it on sale for like $2. So it's a very good game, and I would recommend that. And Jamestown, which if you were listening to this, you probably already have. I mean, somewhere. Just check your Humble Bundles.
No, that's a great game. So you're I'm trying to think what I remember playing 1942 in the arcades. Yeah. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah, I was just looking through on Steam, and there's a lot of the anime games, which are their own sort of genre, I think.
I'm sure there's some excellent ones.
But yeah, I gotta.
That's an intimidating genre to jump into.
Yeah, it's also I don't know that playing it with the Xbox 360 controller is the best way, because there's not a lot of fine. It's hard to do fine control, at least on the controllers that I have, because the sticks are a little bit looser. So I'm pretty sure Crimzon Clover at least can be done by keyboard. So I might get into that if I really want to get into it. I watched a YouTube video of the final secret boss, and it seems physically impossible. So
I was gonna say that's if you don't want to be intimidated, you shouldn't be looking at YouTube videos of shmups.
So Michael, what are you looking forward to playing?
This wasn't really something I was looking forward to. I just kind of wanted to give you I went back to Ziggurat, which was that first-person roguelike, like where the wizard shooter, and it was giving me a headache. And you sort of went back and told me to try to field of view. So I went back, and you know what I did was I messed with field of view, and I turned off motion blur. And then that was the difference. I can now just play it. And so I went through, and I beat my first run through. Although obviously it's one of those games where
That's just the
Yeah,
beginning.
you want to keep running through it with different characters, different strategies and stuff. So I have a much higher opinion of the game now that I don't get nauseous when I'm playing it.
Yeah, that's good. You were sort of that way with Nuclear Throne when you discovered you could turn screen shake
Oh
off.
yes, yeah, you can turn it down, and that made so much difference to me. But so actually, I think I mentioned this last week, but Splatoon came out Friday, like May 29th. Yeah. So I'm really
I've heard good things about it. It seems a little content light, but the mechanics are very solid.
Yeah, so I actually bought it. So
wow.
Yeah, so next time we play, I'll have or next time we talk, I'll have an update on it.
Okay, great. So as far as news goes, the big story earlier this week, as it relates to me, was the Star Citizen had a big asset leak. So Star Citizen is a crowd-funded space sim by Chris Roberts of Wing Commander, both the game and the movie fame. It is they're currently sitting at $83 million, of which they have 100 of mine.
$100, not $100 million.
$100, yes, of mine. They're sort of working on the game in piecemeal. They've released a couple of modules and ships for you to sort of mess around with in the engine. The idea is to get the single player content of the game out in the next year, and then sort of release the Elite Dangerous style persistent universe after that. It's a long road to get there, and obviously they're working on a lot of stuff. So in one of the developer updates, there was a URL that wasn't complete. It was partially censored. Some intrepid fans brute force guessed the URL and were able to download 50 gigabytes of raw art assets for the game.
So, maybe you can tell me what exactly that means, though, that what they actually downloaded.
So what they actually got were... So the game is being coded in CryEngine, or that's the engine that they're using. So these guys took the 50 gigabytes. They were able to get some of them open in the free CryEngine viewer, whatever. And they're basically just ship textures and ship designs and planets and stations, and basically just raw assets for the game that would be plugged in to the game. But the reason that they're 50 gigabytes is because they're uncompressed, they're not finished, they're just sort of the raw, what the artists were just working on hours before. So it leaked a couple of ship designs that haven't been revealed, a couple of planet-side features that haven't really been revealed. Basically, I mean, it kind of gives a good feeling to backers that the game is being worked on, but Chris Roberts and his team have been very forthcoming in sort of what they're working on. They do a monthly diatribe that is paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of what each part of the team is working on every month. So, I mean, I don't know why this was necessary, but it was a pretty big deal for this game to have that much stuff get leaked.
But I mean, this isn't. So I'm trying to think of what the equivalent is. Maybe when the Half-Life 2 had that early leak. I mean, this isn't going to affect the release of it at all, right? It's not like they stole a ship.
No, I mean, it was in a torrent, so the originals still exist. It's just, I guess they've revealed some things that the team was working on that they hadn't showed anybody because they're not finished yet. So
okay,
I don't know how I feel about that. But I picked that as our news story because it's sort of because I'm financially involved.
You're
in the
all in on Star Citizen.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. Playing Elite Dangerous to sort of hold me over. I've made a few videos about Star Citizen. I'll link them here. I want to get back into it since they've released some more content for it, and I want to get one of my friends, Dan, who is also a backer, to try the multiplayer component with me at some point in the future. But yeah, it's that is the development for that game is weird because it started out as as a $1 million Kickstarter, which was intended to be a demonstration of interest to investors, essentially. That Kickstarter ended with $6 million. They decided we don't need investors, we'll just do it ourselves, and now they're at like $83 million 2 years later. It's crazy.
I mean, good for them. You know, it's probably not replicable for anybody else.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Definitely not on this scale.
It's rare that, you know, so like I imagine Chris Roberts has put a lot of his own money into making sure that the infrastructure is there for growing the game. So it's this is probably will be the biggest crowdfunded thing ever. So we'll see how it does.
All right. Any other news stories come up?
I mean, not really. There's sort of it's been dry because
E3
is coming up.
Everyone's locked up tight for E3.
Yeah, they're trying not to have any of these giant leaks.
Nah, you're right that gamers are kind of the worst. Like, when they'll just the brute forcing the URL, that's kind of hilarious, kind of terrible.
It's weird to have a fan base that is so ravenous and technically proficient.
Yeah, that's true. And like, why are you annoyed that they love it so much that they want? Like, are you angry at them if you're the developers?
Well, seeing as just art, and there's nothing that can be really done. It's not like it's a playable chunk or reveals anything like earth-shattering about the game. Like, for instance, like a pricing scheme for like add-on content or anything like mechanically weird. It's just stuff that they're working on that's not finished. It's just the process. It's like I guess the best thing that I can compare it to is like unauthorized set pictures from like a movie.
All right, and that is, I don't really see much harm in that.
Which the creators can get upset at because they're not seeing it in context. They're not seeing it finished. So they're sort of giving away an impression of the game that's not complete, but there's nothing damaging there.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest here. The people who care enough to look for this kind of stuff...
I've not even really looked at it because I don't really want to get that invested because the game's not coming out for like another year and a half. And I sort of want to play it instead of and complete instead of sort of just look at it in pieces and not see the whole thing.
Oh, so. Sure. And let's be honest, someone who maybe downloads a 50 gigabit torrent of art assets probably has their mind made up on this game.
Yeah.
They're probably not doing it out of just sheer curiosity. Like, oh, I wonder what the space station floor looks like.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up here. I just want to say thank you for listening, and if you have made it this far, do us a favor, spread us around. That's the only way we can sort of grow the audience of the show and the channel. Thank you again for that. And as far as videos on the channel are concerned, you may notice there will be a bit of a drought. I mean, I'll try to get new games of our lives up and Urquans as I work on them. I am in the process of moving. I will be doing so until July. So a lot of my free time is going to be going to that. I will try to keep semi-regular.
No,
I know semi-regular updates. But between job and move, I will not have a lot of free time. So please bear with me. And thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to see more videos. If you like the videos, please share them with your friends. If you got feedback for me, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. You could follow me on Twitter @fracktruck_games for the latest updates and notifications when new videos go up. And thus, dear viewer, I bid you adieu. Good night. Trying to think if I have a bit for the intro. Nope.
Alright. We're doing it live.